Let's have a look at a quick overview of how we will be proceeding. There are 4 steps involved. I'll go through them quickly one by one. The step 1, it's the general setup where we create the tabs, resource list, and some dates. The step 2, we create a task list. That's a main list, but we don't do any formattings yet. The step 3, we do the formatting, and formatting is quite important as you've noticed. And then we do some pretty graphics. We try to have everything better looking. That's obviously depending on taste, but I will have a go at it, and then you can change it if you don't like it. First thing to do is to create 3 different tabs. The first one, we will call it dashboard. The second one, we will call resourcing. And the third one, we will call calculation. We create and rename calculations. Here you go. Now, to get us started, we'll be creating a resource list. Resource, task, number of tasks, total working days, what is done and what is left to be done. So just to get us started, all this will be calculated later on, but we just create the skeleton of a list. So we can create some names, we can input some names. So I don't want to spend too much time typing and explaining at the same time, so I'm just cheating a little bit. I'm just copying some, and I'm just going to copy the format as well. So I just create some here, and I like to remove the grids. That's something that personal preference. But like everything with this spreadsheets that I do, is what I like to do is just create a very generous amount of rows. I use the data grouping, and this way I can remove them and the likes. So this tab will be used mainly for us to check that the resource is in our resource list, the type of validation, if you like, but will be also used to create the graphs that we have on the resourcing. So all those fields here will be calculated. And when I'm at it, I'm just going to put a bit of formatting here, just to everything consistent. So that's it. So we've done the resourcing tab. So for our next step, we'll be going to the dashboard, and we will be creating just a few fields here. I'm just gonna copy them directly. So this is it. I've created 4 fields. So this is where we input some parameters. So at today, we use the Excel function today. So this is easy. And I will, and this is the red flag days. It's the amount of days that we decide. It's a bit of a tolerance, if you like. You would say it's okay for us to be late by 2 to 3 days, for instance. But from 5 days, we don't like it. We put a red flag on it. So this is where I put here 5 days. I would put 5 days. I can put a little bit of a formatting here. I will format the cells. And what I like to do is just create my own. So I will just leave the number here, and I will put days like this. And that will tell me 5 days. And then the red flag date then is calculated based on this. So what we take is we take today and we subtract 5 days. So I took that date and I subtracted 5 days. And then this will be the date that will be driving our red flag. The deadline will be calculated later because we need to have a look at all the tasks. The deadline will be the latest of all the tasks that will be listing there. Now, what I like to do with those dates to make sure that everybody understands them, even if you wherever you are in the world, is that I like to format those dates in such a way that there's no month before day or day after month. So I just give it something consistent. So I'm just going to put some letters instead. So I'll just put Tuesday and the month. So that's 3 Ds to say I want the letters, 2 Ds just to say I want the numbers, and then the month in full letter. So this way, and I copy this formatting to the next one, and I actually can copy the formatting here for this one. Next, I will be creating the table. So the table it can be, you know, to start with, you just can put it wherever you like. I'm just going to put it on row 10. I'm just going to copy. I'm just going to copy it. So this is what you would have to start with. So I'm just going to explain each field. So this is so I've decided to have two groups of tasks. So I've decided to have two groups of tasks, but it's not mandatory. You could have just one group of tasks. But I thought it could be useful if you want to have several groups. The who's on it is another way to say resourcing. You can call it resourcing instead. The work required, this is where you would decide how many days or hours or whatever are required. Actually, by the way, I've said days, but it could be hours or weeks or months. The deadline, so this is when you want this task to be completed. So it's hard-coded. You say, well, I want this to be finished by that date. The percentage completed, so this is where you will be putting your updates. How much of the percentage completion is done. I know on another Excel I said I don't like percentage completed. I prefer to put days outstanding. But for this one, just to add a bit of variety, and it seems to be more the norm, I just go back to the percentage completed. And then the status will be calculated. So you don't need this field, this will be calculated. And we will have another field later on, which is the amount of work done that will be calculated as well. So here what you can do, you can create your task list. Just create a task list as big as you want. And as before, what I like to do is to hide the data. This is where I like to hide what is not useful really here. Now we have this completed. The only thing that we need to do is to make sure that this field here is validated. So we go into data validation, and we put allow settings, allow list. And here as a source, we click on the source, and we go here and we just give all this colon here. So this way, when data needs to be input in this, then just going to remove the rest, copy the rest all the way through. So now when you want to put something in this, it would ask you to verify each one of those. So the validation is done here. So I've just added a few tasks here to save you the hassle of seeing me typing. Now, the next thing we can do is to make things a little bit more, to make the formulas a little bit clearer, is to name some columns here. So there are several ways to doing it, but the easiest way probably is just to select the column like this, and then directly input in this field here the name that you want to associate to this group of cells, if you like. So here, for instance, here this is, I will call it task name. And after we can go under formula, name manager, to check if the named range is here. So it's here, so that seems good. So we do the same with this one, we call it resource. Do the same with this one, work required. Next one, we call it deadline. Next one, completion. And the next one, status. So what I'm going to name a couple of fields. So the same principle to name field. I'm just going to call it this one today. I'm going to call this one red flag days, red flag days. And I will be calling this one red flag date. And then after, what you can do, you go under name manager and you check if everything it looks okay here, and it does. So the work left is what has been done less what has been completed. So it's easy. It's just more or less you take the total work that was required and you subtract what has been completed So what has been completed is a require multiply. Okay, so that should tell you, give you, and obviously this one. So this one, as it's a heading, it's not required here. You can apply the same formatting here if you wish to do this. You apply the same formatting here. So does this work? Yes, 100% zero, yes. And I will be calling this work left. The deadline is the highest of all these tasks, more or less. So it's not the last task, because the last task could be, you know, whatever date you want it to be. It doesn't. Maybe it's not the last task of a project, but the deadline is really the highest of all these dates. So how do we calculate this? So we just calculate it with using max in Excel. So you have max of all these dates here. And that gives us the 21st of December. And if we do check, yes, this is the highest here. Now let's have a look at the status fields. So this is one of the most complex calculations that we have to do. We are using the Excel formula called ifs. So this is relatively new. If you don't have the newer version of Excel, then you would have to do embedded if. So it's a little bit more painful, but you can do it in the same way. You can have the same result. You can have the same outcome with it. So the first thing we check is the task itself is completed. So how do we do that? Well, we check that we don't have 1 here, which means 100%. The number 1 means 100%. The second thing that we do is we check that there is actually something in this task. You know, if the task is empty like this one, we don't want to put any status into it. The third thing that we check is if the date is late. So when is the date late is when we have the deadline is in the past. So we are looking at it Tuesday and the deadline of this was yesterday. So that means that the task is late. We don't worry about the red flag yet. That will be for the formatting. If there is something in this task name and the percentage completed is 0, so that means that there is a task and it has not started yet. And if the completion is greater than 0, that means it's in progress. So as we have ruled out the completion of the first part here, then we can say with confidence that if there is more than 0, the task is not completed and the task has started. And that's it. So I've copied this, so I've created it, and now I'll just copy down across this way, copy and paste across all the rows, and if it should stay blank, as we say, stay blank when there is no task name. There you go. So everything looks okay. Obviously, there's no formatting, so it doesn't look as good yet, but looks like all our status looks okay. If I just put something in the future, let's see, not started. Okay, I'll put something here in progress. Very good. So we have done the biggest job, which is to calculate the status. Now we can have a focus on more the formatting. Now let's do a little bit of formatting. Now I'm just going to cover that up. So the first thing we want to format is we want to format every row that has started and every row that has completed. So let's select the full table. The heading, we don't really need it. We just take the full table here. We go into conditional formatting. We create a new rule and we check the percentage completion. So if the percentage completion here is equal to 1, we want it to be green. So if we do that, the problem we'll have is that we'll color all the cells the same based on the value of that very cell here, the first one. So what we need to do in order to do that, we need to remove the block that Excel has put on the first one. We just remove the dollar in front of the number, so that will carry it across for every row. So let's check if that works. Yes, it does. Now, we just need to do the same new rule for the tasks that have started. Same field, percentage completion, remove the dollar is greater than 0. We format, third blue to go to the blue, third, this is my choice. And then you press OK, and what you have here is all the fields the same. So there are two reasons for this. The first reason is we have created a group task here, and this is doing it on everyone. So what we can do is we just reformat this one the same way. The second reason is when you have this problem with conditional formatting, you go back into the manage rules, and what you do is you change the order of those. So now this is working properly. So if you go back here, you notice that by changing the order, just do the completed first, and after I do the other, and that makes more sense. Otherwise, it would just do all this and create everything all blue as we have seen. Now what we need to do is to format the status. We already have some conditional formatting on these fields, if they are completed or if they are late or in progress. Now we want to highlight the one that are late and the one that are very late. So how do we know if something is late and very late? So we use the red flag here. So if we have more than 5 days, if we're late by more than 5 days, we consider that this task should be red. And we use the deadline for this. So for instance, here, the 2 days, the 29th, if the task was due the 28th and is not completed, it's late. But if a task was due the 23rd of November or in a date before that, and today is the 29th, then this is beyond the red flag. So therefore we can say that this task is red. So how do we do that? Let's just do the formatting. We select this column here, go on conditional formatting, and we have 3 rules. We go back to the same process. We have 3 rules that we need to take into account. So as we have 3 rules, we put an AND condition here. So the first rule is the deadline. Here, this field here, we remove the dollar as usual. Must be smaller than this, then we know will be red. If the deadline is beyond, but that's not sufficient. We also need to check that the task is not completed. So the task not completed, that means the task is different 1. And then we need to make sure that the task is not blank. So I can do that just to use, if you want, the full power of Microsoft is blank. So is not blank. We have the task name here. I'm just going to remove this. And then we close all the parentheses. And is red, so we want this to be red. So I found this red a bit aggressive here. So what I like to do is to go into more colors and give it a bit of a more subtle red. Once again, don't want to scare people off. So what happens is the same as before here. Now, at least we know that he has selected this and it looks like he has put plenty in red. So is that correct? So the red flag is 24th of November here, yes, and this is 23rd, so that's before the 24, and then that goes red. But if I put the change of deadline to 26th of November, yes, that's it. So he puts it back to the in progress, so that's good. So now let's do the other, let's do the amber. So we go back here, same principle, and actually I'm just going to go into manage rules here, and I'm just going to copy this rule, duplicate rule. And then I will go back here. So what are the conditions for amber? So now we are not looking at the red flag date, we're just looking at today's date. It's beyond today's date, so it's late. So we're going to put, instead of 18, we put 16 here. And actually I've named those fields, so I could have used the name field. So this will kind of give it an amber color. A bit less aggressive, that's it. So now let's see how Excel is going to give us that. So if we go back to our example here, if the deadline was the 20th of November, that's it, so it works. So as I was mentioning, I named those fields. So what I could have done is going back to the formula, manage rules. Here, what I could have done, instead of saying the 18 here, we could have put the red flag date. Red flag date. Otherwise, you're going to say, Ben, why did we bother creating this? And that's it. And then we can do that for today's date. For the amber, it's 2 days. We can remove today. But as it's in a conditional formatting, is maybe not as important, but just wanted to show you why we named those fields. And that's it. So that's it. We've colored. So we're starting to look a little bit more like the finished product, but we still need to put some graphics around it. Now let's format the percentage completion field. So in order to do this, what we need to do is to start with, we need to make sure that we back to the default formatting. Otherwise the progress bar is not going to show. So what we need to do is we need to have 2 rules. The first one is if there is a completion somewhere, which means the percentage complete is above 0, then we put back the initial color of our fields. As usual here, we will need to make sure that we have those in the right order. That's it. Now it's in the right order. This formatting here, we talked about this. We need to put back the formatting the way it was. Now there is another thing that we need to do but that's quite simple. So if you don't want to have to reformat this group of tasks, you can just select those tasks here. Just select those. What you need to do is you need to create a rule that is based on the data bars. So when you do this, then it's all good. It goes back to the light blue even when the task is in progress. But there's still something that I don't like. I don't like the fact that there is still some grid on this. So this is something that we need to do. We need to go back to conditional formatting, and we need to make sure that this rule is applied above. So here we shouldn't see the green there. Now there is also a challenge with this and I'll show you what with an example. Like all the percentage completed here are still 70%. So and therefore that Excel thinks that 70% is the maximum that we want to show, but we don't want 70% to be the maximum. What we want is we want 100% to be at the maximum. So what I have created here is I'm creating 2 fields, min percentage and max percentage. So to tell Microsoft, yeah, this is the minimum and this is the maximum. And when I select that rule here, when I manage the rule, I can tell them these 2 fields here are also part of my assessment. And I go back here and I say 0% and 100%. Yeah, that you should take those into account. And therefore now this one is 100%. But these are only 70%, so that we don't want them all to be shown. So let's check if 100% is showing good. Yes, showing good. And that's it. So obviously, I mean, that would be simpler if you had only one group of tasks. Now we've decided to have 2 task groups. I don't think you would need to have those. Usually you have just one group of tasks. So therefore that you would have to do this these specific things for that line here. So the last thing that I want to do is, I chose one of the specified value, but I would like to have it the same color of this because it make it consistent. This is a color that we've decided will show when, this is the color here we decided to show when the task is in progress. So I will edit that rule and I will just check another color, which is the third one from the top, and it will all be nice and consistent with this. Now I just need to make sure that this also goes back to completed. So I go back here and I say stop if true. That's it. Now regarding those fields here, whether or not you want them shown, you know, as usual, what I like to do is I go to data and I like to group them, outline, group, and then I can hide them whenever I want. For the moment I'm going to leave them, but because we'll need those for the calculation, but I'm just going to hide them here. So that's it. So the formatting for this is completed. Now going back to our resourcing tab. So this is where we'll be doing some calculation to allow us to show the graphs on the other tab. So the first thing we need to calculate is for each resource, how many tasks they have. Now in order to do this, we need to check first if that there is something here. So if this field here is not blank, I mean there's several ways to check this, but this is the one way you just has different blank. Then what we need to do is a countif of the resource range that we had before, and the condition to count it is obviously if this is the same resource. So if this is a resource in this field here, which is B4. So we drag that down, and now what we have is we have false here, so when there's no resource. So something we can do is just put a blank here. And then we drag all this down. So this is done for the number of tasks. Next, we calculate the total work in days. So to do this, we need to go back to this and calculate this amount of work required, which is the initial work that has been allocated based on the resources day. So in order to do this, we do a sumif. Actually, I could go there so it's a bit clearer. The range that we want to use as a selection is the resource name is the same. And as we've seen, we need to do this to make sure that we select this field here. And what is the range to add? It's the required. That's it. So we should have 12 days here, and we drag that all the way down, and we have some 0 here. So this is done. Just in case you're not aware, so it's in order to refer to another field, I need to hardcode the equal, and I need to concatenate this with the field. So this way, Excel puts all that together and check that there is this field here. Now, for the done field, we leave it as is. We need to have this one first. So in order to do this, what do we need to do? I'm just going to copy and paste this and then just change a couple of criteria. So in order to calculate this, instead of calculating the work required, we need to use the work left field here that has already been calculated for us. So we need to make sure that we are talking about the same resource. So we go back to B4 here, enter, but we are not selecting the work required. We are selecting the work left. Bingo. And then we drag that down. And we have something that is very precise here. So what is done, it's more or less what was planned, less what is left to do. This is what is done. Okay. So if you don't like those zeros, you can format all this. You select all this, and then you do a special formatting, format cells, custom. And I think it's the H, so that shows nothing. Okay, so this is done for these calculations here. So we go back into our calculation tab. Let me copy the headings here. That's it. I'm just doing this. I'm going to view. I remove the grid. I have something about grids. I really don't like them. So I'm just going to put some things here. Now, for each one of those, we'll have a different criteria, but it's more or less all starting with countifs first of all, we need to make sure there is something in that name field here. Different. So that just confirms that there is nothing in that field, and also that the completion then is equal to what here? 0. Because those are the tasks that are not started. So we put 0 here. So I'm just going to drag that down to make it easier. In progress, we have 2 criteria. It has to be greater than 0. And I'm just going to copy this. And it has to be smaller than 1. And then finally, completed. Just the one that are equal to 1. So we have 11, 13 tasks here. Here we have 13 tasks. It all looks okay, so far so good. Now we just need to calculate on track, late, or red. So what I'll be doing is we take the same calculation here. That gives me a good starting point. We don't want blank tasks. We don't want task completed this time. So we say the task must be completion progress must be different from 100%. And we just say the deadline must be greater than today. So if the deadline is in the future, then we are not late. It makes sense. Greater than the field today here. Okay, now let's grab that down. How do we know if something is late? So for this, we check that the deadline is greater than the red flag. So we're still late, but not too much. So the red flag date. And then we had the criteria that we had in the field above, that the deadline needs to be smaller than today. So deadline was in the past, we are late, but we are not yet too late. So that's it, that's done. Now we are left with the red. So red, how many red do we have? Task different blank, task not completed. The deadline is smaller or equal, I want to say the red flag date. And the deadline is smaller than today. So we have 4, 2, 5. So we will be using these fields to do our graphs at the next screen. Now let's add some charts, some fun charts. So the first one, just select those 3. We put insert, and then we have the recommended chart or the donut. We need to find the donut somewhere. What we do is we add data labels. That's it. And what we want to do is to right click on it and do format data labels. And this is where you can check what you want to put on the format. Category name, yes, you want to remove the value, yes, or you want to add them after. So completed free, so that's completely up to you how you format those. I like to have them outside like this. And yeah, you can I would like to remove the legend. If it's here, that's a bit of a duplication. What I like to do is to have the same color, obviously, as here. So not started free, not started here. So you go here and then you select the field that you like and try and get the same color. For instance, so it doesn't show much here, but when we have a dark background, it will show. In progress, you can fill directly here. I think this is this in progress. No, in progress, I have this one. And then completed, same thing. Completed. I think this is the one we have. Okay. So and then we do the same. I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's just formatting that once you get the gist of it. And then you do the same with the other one. We go insert donut, same process, click on it, add data label, then format data label. You can choose what you want here. The series, no, it's a category name. So that's it. And then you can do the same with the color. So I'll do that offline. I will change the same color and then prepare things a little bit. So there's not much learning in this. And then I'll put that back on the other tab. Next, we do the graph on the resource workload, just to give us an idea. So in order to do this, we can select just the resource that we have if we want, or we can just select more. So if we have more resources that come into play, we can show them as well. They will show. And then we select the two last column, the done and the left to do. And we insert the chart. So we have several charts here. The chart that we need to choose is this one here with the two sets of data on the same vertical. So this is it. We have it. So as for the others, I like to be consistent with color. I mean, red, I show maybe red as something that is left to be done, and as green as something that has been completed. So green here. So what I do now is I cut it and I paste it here. So now I think I'm going to change the resolution of my screen so I can show you more how all that fits in. But from that point on, we really have the basic, we have done it all more or less. This is it. So if you're really not fussy with with formatting, you can stop here. If you're just interested in the raw data. Now let's get started with formatting. So I think the trend at the moment is to have some dark themes. So what I like to do is just put everything in a very deep blue here. So this is a very deep blue here. I just either go around here so this one stands out, or I just format it later on, but I put everything in here, very dark blue. That's it. I mean, I could put it here, but here there's something else up. You know, I could put it here blue already if you want a bit of a shortcut. Something that I don't know if I mentioned, but you know, this type of table here doesn't have the black surrounding. It has more the white borders. So here you can do the same. You just go here, you select cells, format cells, and at the border you choose the white. And then you make sure you click on this and on this. So that will give you white borders, and then you apply the formatting. You apply this here, the light blue again. If you want to show this one in red, obviously you can as well. Now what we need to do next is go back to those charts, click on the charts, and put format on the chart. Format here, shape fill, we need to put no fill so we can see through. So it doesn't look very good at the moment, because what we need to do is we need to change the font to white. Okay. I'll be doing this as well while I'm at it actually. Format, shape fill the same, see through, font white, font white. Now what we do next is we go back to this and we go on home, and the text, I like to put it like this, so this way that gives you a little bit more room. And we need to provide a little bit more room to this, make it a little bit bigger. And the chart title, I like to put complementary color, if you want to call it this way. Format, shape fill, a bit of this one. I think I need probably a bit of maybe a smaller font. Voila, shape effect, text effects, a bit of shadow here to this. Okay, now this is better. So I put resource workload, and then I select this. I go to my brush to copy the format and I apply it on this. It doesn't take it all, but it should. Now this one there, copy on this. All right, so what do we have here? We have the task completion. And here we have the active task status. So this is quite important when you have some tasks that are active. The tasks that are completed, then you're not as interested. But the one that are active, you usually want to keep an eye on those. Now this we need to make sure to do a bit of fine-tuning to make sure that there is no overlap. Looks like this one has a border that we need to change. Format chat area. The border, I need to put it in white. Here I want to remove the border of this. So I'll go to format chat area, border, no line, remove. Same here, remove. There you go. So now we just need to tidy that up more or less. As usual, I want to remove my grids. What we can do is also, I group some tasks here. Maybe I'm gonna have to ungroup them because I've added more. I'm going to data. I ungroup them, but I want to group those ones. The ones that are not here, I don't really want to show them, so I hide them. That's it. So this is starting to look a little bit better. I don't really like this, those borders here. So I'm just going to put no border. And here I'm going to do the same, no border. Okay. Now this, for instance, you could put it bold. Maybe you just need to separate them a bit. Just a little bit of what you can do is you can put also this in white. So from that point on, I suppose it's a matter of taste. We all have specific views on this. Now the last thing that I wanted to do is to add some icons just to fill in the blank with the resourcing. It's obviously not mandatory, but if you look at people here, I'm sure you'll find something. How many did I have? Yeah, those 4 here. I just put them back here. They are all white, so I put them white here. And I can add a little bit of reflection on it. But the reflection is too far for me. It doesn't really make sense. So what you have to do is you have to go to crop, Graphic for Mind, crop it. So I've noticed that if when you crop it, then it puts the shadow just under. So if you really fussy, so you can have this the size you want. It's a nice way to fill the gap, and then if you have more resource, then you can remove it, or as we mentioned, we can just have the selected field here. So this is pretty much it. I mean, obviously we need to align all those fields here, so it's always better when they are neatly aligned. And we just have one last thing to do, is to put the overall project completion status here. So in order to do this, we go back to our resourcing tab. We calculate the total of all these fields. Let me just initially copy the format, and after we call this total. Then we just make the sum of all those fields. So we don't need all those fields, but I'm just going to do it all anyway. So the percentage project completion is more or less the ratio of what is done vs what has not been done. So we just select the done and the left to do. We go insert, and then we select the type of representation. I'm just going to go for this type of chart this time. So when I'm here, I need to do a few things. I would like to format it a little bit. So what I will be doing, I will be just first of all, just remove the field. So I just want it to be transparent. I will be removing these 2 notions here. And then here I will be clicking on the chart, and I will be adding data label. And what I will be doing is the format data label. And then instead of having value, I will put percentage. So now I will have my percentage here, and I will have my percentage here. Or I can just leave it inside. It might even be better. So now what I can do is I can put a project status, completion, project completion. And then I can, what I like to do is to explode the pie for this. So I just click on it under the series option formatting here. I can choose how much I explode it. And I take 20% for instance. And then I would like to have the borders a bit thicker. So it stands out. Just first of all, I make sure that the borders are white. And then I just increase until I'm satisfied. Ooh, that might be a bit too much. Okay, and I put the font back in white. And I put it in bold. So, okay. Last thing I do is I put that into be consistent green. What is completed is green. And what is not been completed, I'll put it in light blue as I had the rest. So now it doesn't look like much. So let's cut the chart and let's just paste it here. Much smaller than this. Now I realize that I realize that the border of my chart are a bit too big. I will just put this in white, project completion like this, bold it, maybe a bit smaller, and then I will need to get rid of the border of the overall chart here. Okay. So this doesn't really work. I need to put thinner border, and I think that I need something a bit more aggressive as far as the green is concerned. So I'm just going to put a nice fat green like this, and for this I need to put for the other one to make sure I select it. No, that's it. I need to put something maybe gray like that. Okay, so I think that I can leave the font quite big, so it's very noticeable, the percentage. So we have 45%, and now if we just want to do a quick check, if you put this one at 100% completion, and that changes the thing, so it seems to be working. So it just need to be a bit of, that's it, the fine tuning here.